These comics are the hottest books out there right now, but I gotta ask you guys, why? Welcome back to another video. This really popped when I saw it. That to me is a monster increase. Again, this book got hot. This book is ready to go higher. So let's jump right into it. We are back today with another statue review from Diamond Select Toys. Without further ado, let's get into the review. What is good, YouTube? This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles, and thank you for joining me for another Hot 10 breakdown of the week. If you guys aren't familiar with this one, I take the 10 hottest comics according to the Key Collector app, and I break them down for you guys, letting you know which I'm buying, and of course, which I'm staying away from. But before we get started in the video, like always, I want to remind you guys, if you're not a current sub of the channel, do yourself a favor, hit that sub button, smash that like button for me, because it really helps the channel out. And if you're interested in merch, I always got you covered. Check out the links below. With that said, let's check out these books. Starting off the list at number 10 this week is a copy of Deadpool, Merc with a Mouth, number 7, and the first appearance of Lady Deadpool. And we just had a CGC 9.6 sell last week for $200, up an insane 59% over the average. I have to ask you guys a question. You see this picture of Ryan Reynolds with the long hair? Are they going to superimpose Taylor Swift's face over his for her to portray Lady Deadpool? I have no idea. Either that, she's playing a Dazzler, or I even hear about rumors of her playing herself. Regardless, am I spending $200 on this book right here, right now? You know I'm not. At number 9 this weekend, back on the list, is a copy of Godzilla number 1 and the first published title in the US featuring Godzilla. And we just had a CGC 9.8 that sold last week for $530, up 25% over the average. You guys heard it here first. All these nostalgia books, these 1980s, late 70s nostalgia books, have really gotten crushed. This book is super hot because of the movie. If you're up to spending $500 and change on a 9.8, go for it. But for me, I just can't do it. At number 8 this week is a copy of Watchmen number 1 and the first appearance of the Watchmen and the first issue in the series. And we just had a CGC 9.8 sell last week for $720, up 5% over the average. Now I'm going to tell you guys this series of books is probably one of the best reads you will ever find in comics. But do I want to spend $700 and change on a 9.8 for the first issue? Probably not. Like I said, it is a great read, but it is a lot of money to spend. Go ahead and get yourself a trade paperback or omnibus. That is always the better buy if you're just buying for story purposes. At number 7 this week is a copy of Amazing Spider-Man number 1, but the Golden Record reprint. This is, of course, the first reprint ever for this issue. And we just had a CGC 9.4 sell last week for $2,100, up 12% over the average. Then we had a CGC 7.0 sale of $1,050, up 9% over the average. You guys know I love Golden Record reprints, but some of these books can get really expensive, and right now I think they're a little bit too much. With all these Silver Age books really dropping, the true first appearances, do we want to go out and spend this kind of money on a Golden Record reprint? I'm going to say no. If you could find a copy for around $300 to $400 to even $500, I'm always a buyer of it if you can't go out and get the true first appearance like ASM number 1. So I'm only a buyer if you can get a deal. If not, then probably at these prices, I'd be staying away. At the 6th spot and back on the list is a copy of Amazing Spider-Man number 19 and the first appearance of Matt Gargan, who in the next issue goes on to become the Scorpion. And a CGC 8.0 just sold last week for a whopping $800, up 18% over the average. Then we had a CGC 7.0 sale of $540, up 6% over the average. Whenever I talk about this book, it is really expensive and high grade. So like I always tell you, I'd rather go ahead, get the first appearance of the Scorpion over Matt Gargan. Take that money. You could probably get a couple of mid-grade copies for the amount of high grade ASM number 19 is going for. With that said, that's where I'm putting my money. Moving up to number 5 this week is a copy of Iron Fist number 14 and the first appearance of Sabretooth, the arch nemesis of Wolverine, and a CGC 9.4 just sold last week for $879, up 3% over the average. Then we had a CGC 9.0 sale of only $565, up 3% over the average. Where the market is right now, I keep saying it over and over again, value is where you should be putting your money, and this book, especially in a high grade copy and a 9.0 only for $565, I will be all over this book right here, right now. That is a great buy in super high grade for this Bronze Age key. Oh my god, at the 4 spot, it's what else? It is a copy of Omega Man number 3 and the first appearance of Lobo in a CGC 9.8. Just sold last week for $343, up 2% over the average. You guys know what I say. I'm not spending a dime over 300. There's way too many copies out there, especially in a 9.8. Don't do it. It is not worth it. I'd be staying away. Making its way to number 3 this week is a copy of Transformers number 1 and the first appearance of the Autobots and the Decepticons. And we just had a CGC 9.6 just sell last week for $400, up another 22% over the average. Like I said, if you go to Go Collect right now, they're doing a special series on these 1980s nostalgia books and how they've gotten crushed over the past couple of years. Right now, if I can go ahead and get a copy for around $100 to $150 just to have in the collection, I do it. Other than that, I'd be staying the hell away from these books. At number 2 this week is What Else? It is a copy of Uncanny X-Men number 130 and the first appearance of Dazzler. And there's also the second appearance of Kitty Pryde and Emma Frost. And we just had a CGC 9.6 sell last week for $500, up 4% over the average. Then we had a CGC 9.4 sale of $450, up 45% over that average. You guys know what I'm saying. This is too much money to spend on this book. What happens if Taylor Swift is not Dazzler in Deadpool 3? Then what? This book is going to sink like a rock. If you're a massive X-Men fan, you probably want to own the book. If you're not, I'd definitely be staying away. And at the top spot this weekend, back at number 1, it is a copy of New Mutants 98 and the first appearance of Deadpool, the Mark with the Mouth. And we just had a CGC 9.6 that just sold last week for $590, up 7% over the average. With that said, I tell you guys all the time, I only want to own this book in a 9.8, but right now I keep seeing lower and lower prices for that 9.8. I just saw a sale for $1,050, so right now I'm definitely staying away from this book. It is still going down. Not sure it's how it's at the top spot. A lot of people are still buying this book though. With that said, most of these books are on this list are all spec books. X-Men 130 and the Dazzler. Of course, Deadpool 3 coming out with all the characters there. Omega Man number 3, of course, with Jason Momoa possibly being Lobo. Transformers number 1 with a new series that just came out. All these books are just spec books. None of them are investments. That doesn't mean we shouldn't be buying them, just not for the prices that they're going for right now. It is now time for my best buy of the week, and I'm going to do it. It is a copy of Iron Fist number 14. It is so undervalued, criminally, especially at high grade. I'd be all over this book, like I said before. That is the best buy of the week. This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles saying thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.